Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Borderwise and welcome back to From the Depths Subscriber Craft Review. And this particular review I've been simultaneously looking forward to and dreading. I've been looking forward to it because out of all the craft that people have ever sent me, and out of all the craft on the Subscriber Craft Review for this right now, this is the best example of a noob ship, of the kind of thing that a brand new player to From the Depths will make, and just it's a perfect opportunity to, when people ask me, Borderwise, what are some classic mistakes that new players make, I can point to this ship and say, well, this mostly. And I've been dreading it because I'm really worried about how I'm gonna, not make this seem like a really scathing review of someone's pride and joy. So in any case, the pride and joy in question is this thing. This is the Light Cruiser, or Light Carrier as it has been renamed through various updates, by Brandon Smith, aka Rafiki Smith. And normally I like to start these reviews off with the positive stuff. Today is going to be a bit of an exception, simply because this craft has so many flaws they are impossible to ignore. I need to get that out of the way first, before we do anything else. But before we do anything else, there's something else we have to do. Little reminder for anyone new to this series, submissions are closed. Please don't try to send me anything. I won't accept it. There are too many people who want to send me stuff. I will never be able to keep up. Okay? And there's that, and just another little note for the people in the comments section particularly. This is the most noob ship I've ever received, so be nice. Brandon Smith has been very understanding of the needs for this. I don't know, I've been communicating with him on and off throughout the Subscriber Craft Review series. He's really keen to get his stuff reviewed. He's made lots of changes to this, and in the end, he's having fun, which means he's winning the game of life and From the Depths. So, okay, don't be nasty, okay? So, Light Cruiser / Light Carrier. So what's wrong with it? Well, firstly, look at the cost of this thing. Over 1 million materials, and 13,000 blocks, and it's 254 meters long, and yeah, it's huge. It is very big. This is not what I would describe as light cruiser size. And there's a bit of a, I don't want to say a meme, but a thought going around. I guess not the From the Depths community. I guess the channel community, really, that I don't like large craft. That isn't exactly true. I don't see size as a virtue in itself. I like craft that are as big as they need to be, and if they fit their size, and if their cost, if their function justifies their cost, basically. I explained that terribly. Basically, excessively large things I'm not usually a fan of, and this definitely falls into that category. For what this ship can do, there is no need for it to be this big and expensive, and that, unfortunately, is just practice and experience with playing From the Depths that'll solve that problem. So it's very big, and also it has deck guns. So deck guns are a classic newbie mistake that I've definitely made myself, and I still continue to make occasionally. And so it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 advanced cannons, all dual turrets. They're all on the deck, they're all completely exposed. In fact, if I do this now, you can see, yep, it's got all the ammo exposed. See-through clips, I didn't notice that before. See, this craft has so many things wrong with it that, going through all of them in detail would be a bad idea. It would take way too long. But see-through clips, they're just bad for performance, and they have less armor. So, if we hear ammo clip, 1 meter clip, health 100, armor 7, health 100, ammo 8, and there's no cost difference. So, that extra 1 armor does help a lot. So, definitely something there. Deck guns, exposed deck guns. The accuracy settings on these guns are also not set, so I don't know why this is still a thing, like in From the Depths, but the default settings for advanced cannons... Actually, wait, no, these are just one gun with 2 barrels. Whoops, my bad. My bad, wasn't paying attention. So, required accuracy per fire is set to 2 degrees. This is terrible, and I don't know why this is the default. The default should really just be at minimum, because I have never used an advanced cannon or a cram cannon or even a simple weapon where I've wanted the required accuracy per fire to be more than this. There's, as far as I'm aware, 0 point. Unless, I don't know, you're doing something wacky, in which case that's so rarely that you could easily mess with this. Anyway, so this ship can't actually hit anything with its guns. For various reasons, but like mostly because the required accuracy is just on default, and the default is terrible. There's also the local weapon controller default, so this one isn't even connected. It's got no main... Oh no, Brandon! You gotta make sure your wireless receivers are on the right channel for this. Unless I did that. I don't think I did do that. Yeah, nope. Oh dear, that's another whoopsie. Double check your wireless receivers. Anyway, so the settings on this thing. Okay, this one is set. Others are not. What are the settings on this? Okay, so minimum altitude, maximum range. Okay, so they're meant to be little anti-air guns. The main guns, theirs are not set. So there's no settings on here. In particular, you want a maximum range and minimum altitude. With guns like this, because you don't want them shooting at submarines. That's a waste of time. And these guns in particular have terrible range on them. So 179mm. Let's go check out the shell it's using. Yeah, the shells are all terrible, by the way. So 179, was it? Yeah, so a range of 1,500 meters for an advanced cannon of this size is terrible. It is really bad. Also, don't put smoke warheads at the front. Like, there's so many things. Like, let me compare this. So, HE head, smoke warhead. Look at the range, and look at the muzzle velocity. That's the difference. It just spiked from 1,500 to over 2,000, and went from a muzzle velocity of about 400 meters to over 500. So, what you put right at the front of your advanced cannon shell is really important, because that determines how far and how fast the shell goes. You want aerodynamic heads. Basically, only stuff in the shell nose thing. Anything else, not good. Also, 179mm smoke shell, I just realized, it can't even produce a smoke cloud. So there's no point in that. Okay, and like, these problems are in no particular order. I just listed them as I spotted them. There is a giant, useless air gap right here. This ship is over 250 meters long. It would be not very hard at all to stick, like, to just shorten the whole thing overall. There's nothing in here. I don't think there's even air pumps in here, because this cavity, this space, is actually too big for air pumps to work. So it is completely useless. Also, yep, that is not a good ammo compartment, because on the underside it's just alloy, and it's just wood for a craft. It's just a metal compartment for a craft of this size. Oh god. It is in the rear though, so that's nice. Good aim point, decent aim point spoofing way in the back here. And where is it? Speaking of ammo, this thing has... You'll notice that in the all weapons control menu here, this thing has 149 weapons. Most of that is missiles, and that's the reason why that this thing is so expensive, because it has torpedoes here, which don't have ballast tanks, and you need those, I just realized. And it's got missiles up here, which are really long, and really, really long. Lots of them. And it's got... What have we got here? We've got... Random lump of heavy armor. What? Oh, there's more ammo right here in the middle, which is the worst place for aimpoint spoofing. Okay, so where is it? Ah, nope, not there. What? Where is it? Ah, here we go. Lots and lots of torpedoes. Lots and lots of them, all of which have different settings on them. There's explosive, there's more explosive, which is the same. Explosive frag, and EMP. And I think there's... Yes, there's missile interceptors with frag warheads. There's an exposed weapon controller, which isn't great. There's... Okay, that's engine exhaust. Where were they? Ah, yeah. Here's more missiles. More interceptors. Target protection guidance. I think. Yeah, here's even more missiles. Which is... What? Sticky flare, radar buoy, regulator, active radar seeker? Offensive countermeasures, which only work well, by the way, if you've got regular countermeasures as well. Because these things have a reload time of about 20 seconds, and that's too long. And... Okay, right, so way too many missiles. So it's got so many missiles, that's one of these things is ammo cost of 1,000 and launch ammo per second is 30. So that is 30 ammo boxes just for this one missile. So times that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Times that by 22, 30 times 22 is a big number. And then there's all the other missiles on here. And this, it's got about 72,200 ammo. I can tell you right now, that's not enough. Not for the missile costs that these things have. You just... And you can't just, like, you can't keep that up just with ammo processors either, because that'll cost a fortune, and this thing is expensive enough as it is. So, you really wouldn't be able to use this thing in any single-player campaign, because it's just too expensive and too expensive to run. So, what else? So, isolated heavy armor, that's a thing. So, over here you have a big shield of heavy armor, which is guarding this ammo compartment right here, which has a lot of single blocks. I haven't even gotten to that point yet. Never do this. This makes your PC hate you, and armor beams have bonus health due to their size. So, one stone block, health of 300. 300 times 4, beams 4 times the size. It would be 1,200, except beams have bonus health, extra 50% health. So you see right there, 2 meter beam, extra 25%, extra 37%, extra 50%. So there's no reason not to use beams, and there's absolutely no reason to put blocks like this. This is just wasteful in terms of CPU processing power. And it's just, like, you've made this whole area just so fragile. And, like, getting onto my original point is like, okay, so you've got this heavy armor here, serving as a shield. Like, there's huge angles, like, all throughout the ship as well, which is just, it's just wood, and it's metal. And that's it, and not stacked wood metal either. So we've got here, you have 0 degrees, about 45 degrees, wooden blocks, metal blocks, single blocks, and a layer of stone. And that's it. Tiny little blocks, easy to destroy, like, and then you're right into this huge ammo compartment. So, no, isolated heavy armor is not a good idea. If you wanted to protect something with heavy armor, and I've lost count of how many times I've said this, it needs to be a fully enclosed box. It needs to... The heavy armor needs to fully encapsulate whatever it's protecting, because otherwise it's just so tough it'll outlast every other block surrounding it. And then, like, it's rendered useless. Because, like, every other block will be destroyed, the thing you're protecting will be destroyed, and then the heavy armor will still be alive and well and being useless. Okay, so it's also a repair monster, so if we do this, if I go find what I'm looking for, what is, here, see? This is already, even for a ship this big, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, times 2, 34. 34 repair bots is already too much. Like, if you've designed a ship properly, you need 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 at maximum, because what you do not want with any craft is just to repeatedly repair blocks that just immediately get destroyed again. That's the problem I had way back in the day when I was playing the NATO campaign with my wooden ships. They repaired very quickly, but because they were made of wood, they just got the same wooden block, just got destroyed over and over and cost, like, way too much materials. And so, like, yeah, repair spam, not a good idea. Always, and this is something I do now, and it's such a good habit to get into, repair bots are one of the things you add last. So you combat test your craft with no repair capabilities at all, and when it performs adequately then you add a repair bot or 2. And then that just covers scratch damage and allows it to repair itself in between fights and all that stuff. But, like, just spamming repair bots, classic noob tactic, and I should know because that's the one I did way back in the day. And it's like, it's a fake success, repair bots, because you think, oh yeah, my craft can take a beating. No, it can't. Or rather, it can take a beating, but it's eating your money while it does so. Ay. And, where was I? Single block spam, isolated. Long list. Oh yeah, speaking of repair, it has, up here, on top, it has exposed repair tentacles. Repair tentacles are 100 materials each, and they are not exactly durable. So 150 health, armor 5, that's nothing. Like, timed frag will shred that. So this is one of those components that you never, ever want to stick an exposed way. Simply because, like, you don't have to. Like, if you put them right at the bottom here, they'll still be able to do their job, and they won't be an expensive asset that can get blown off. So, oh hello. The sub-vehicles. Ah, boy. Oh yeah, so as you probably would have seen in the intro, like, sorry, I couldn't resist. I usually show off in the intro how cool and how epic a craft can be. But in this particular case, that wouldn't really fit the tone of this video, so I showed the light cruiser colliding with its own sub-vehicle. So I'm going to show that again right now. It does it regularly as clockwork. And those sub-vehicles, I'm not going to talk about them too much because they are a new addition, and this video will probably already drag on long enough without me talking about all their problems too. So, and also I'm not reviewing 3 different types of craft all in one video, Brandon. So, yeah, so here we are. Rest assured that I have looked at them, and they're on the same level as the main craft, so to speak, in terms of polish. So we've got 2 submarines with exposed props, and we've got a AC-130 attempt. And, like, here's the problem, see? The problem with having, yep, and bonk. And wait for it, bonk. Also, I have no idea what these things are for. I think these are just fins for fun. Yeah, they're window blocks in ERA. They do literally nothing. So I guess they're just for aesthetics. But yeah, this is an issue. So the idea is that, like, Brandon, if you're really set on having these submarines, like, don't have them submerged all the time. Don't have them above water, because, like, this is just you don't. Words fail. It's just if your craft spawns they do have to submerge, and in that time to submerge, they can run into each other and the main craft, which is no good. Is that AC-130 just hovering? Well, AC-130 gunship. I'm just gonna quickly squiz here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So not a real plane because it's got thrusters. RTG powered, so that explains why this thing is 150,000 materials. And lots of batteries. Let's see here. Is it? Yep, no accuracy set. So yeah, those are a problem. That's a problem. Like the sub vehicles, like altogether, this one craft is already over 1 million materials, and This is over 200,000 materials, and 200,000 materials, and 150. This whole setup is very expensive and just doesn't perform, like, at the same rate as its cost. I've tested this this ship against the Tier, Godly Class Steel Strider ship, and against my own Varanus, which, in case you're wondering, is this thing right here, this little pocket battleship thing, 230,000 materials, and, like, designed for use against Onyx Watchcraft, and it absolutely curb stomps the light cruiser, these two submarines, and that gunship over there. And it really, like, if you're building cost efficiently, that should not happen. The main craft alone is 5 times the cost. But, yeah, so efficiency. It's really important if you want to get better at From the Depths. And where was I? I deviated from my list. Okay, so it's got no armor to speak of as well, so it's mostly made of wood, except for a few not very well placed heavy armor and metal blocks. Because here, like, it's using 2-meter beams for absolutely no reason. 4-meter beams would work here. It's got a big, thirsty injector engine, which does not have... I just learned this the other day. With injector engines, you really want to have 2 exhausts for each cylinder, and the ones on top here... Oh dear. Oh dear, these ones don't even have them. No exhaust. Oh dear. That's a problem. Always funnel your exhaust outside. More single blocks. Why? Why you do this? No wonder my PC melted before the multi-threading update, even looking at this thing. Okay. And it also has no shields, so if I'd like, at least I don't think so. Let's test that. So, mode, let's load shield control. I don't know. On start. To reflect. Did that do anything? Okay, it might have a shield somewhere, but I don't know where it is. That's another problem I have with craft that are really big, is that I can't find anything on them. Like, you try and find perhaps the one shield that that the craft might have, and you just can't find it in something so big, although this one is easier to look through than others. So yeah, no shields. No shields at all, no lambs. And for a craft that size, that's a bit of an issue, because it's not exactly fast, and it's not exactly dodgy either. It just collided with something, with its own submarine, and they're not even moving. And so that's an issue. So it's helpless against crabs, it's helpless against advanced cannons, and, like, relies on repair spam, not a good idea. It's also got the most buoyant material in the game on the bottom. So the underside is made of alloy, the deck is made of wood. Like, it floats, I will admit that it floats, but in generally speaking, this is a recipe for things to capsize if you're not careful. It's actually the heavy armor that on the bottom that's probably balancing it out. But, oh, there's that cylinder that overheated again. So, alloy is way more buoyant than wood, so it has buoyance. It's only got a weight of 20. Well, looking at the full meter beams, which you should be using, Brandon. It's got a relative buoyancy of a plus 130, a weight of 20, as compared to wood, which is a weight of 40, and a relative buoyancy of 110. So, you don't put the lightest, most buoyant materials on the bottom. That is not a good idea. It's just... yeah, if this thing wasn't so long and also reasonably broad, like, it doesn't look broad because it's so long, but 23 meters wide is pretty wide for a ship in this game, or at least by my standards, but my ships are very skinny. Yeah, so there is that. It's like, yeah, I mentioned the spin blocks that don't really do anything except be there. It's got also no EMP. This is a problem, especially against EMP torpedoes, all this delicious crunchy alloy underneath. It's also... Where is the AI? Is this? Surrounded by stone. Yep, so it is surrounded by stone, and that is nice. But big EMP surges can jump. Oh no. Yeah, I've learned the hard way that this... Okay, that's not so bad. It's got a big... It's got an air gap right there, but still. Are there any AI components? Yeah, like, so it's got no EMP proofing. It doesn't have... It's not built like a Faraday cage, which is, by the way, one of the better ways to EMP proof a craft, is to have conductive materials all on the outside, so metal and alloy on the outside, and then on the inside you have it all made of wood and stone, and like even heavy armor if you've got the budget for it. And that means that EMP surges just travel around the outside of the craft and have to travel the longest path possible in order to reach vital components. But this craft isn't like that. It's kind of like half alloy on the bottom and half wood on top, which means that EMP surges hitting the bottom will travel really far and just, well, ruin everything. They'll pop these ACBs, certainly, and big EMP surges can jump through wood if there's no other path available for them, so that's not great either. And getting back to the APS shells, which I mentioned before, they're all terrible. Like, without exception, they all have terrible range, they all have terrible damage. Where are they all at, I wonder? Oh yeah. Also, using radar boys as decoys is not really a thing anymore. Because, like, the game's been changed, and there's dedicated signal emitters now for that kind of thing. Where are the things? I'll go find them. They are here somewhere. It's not there. What are these? Oh yeah, I remember at one point this thing warped away if it got below 80% health. Like a million miles, it made it really irritating to test. But I complained and Brandon fixed that. So thanks, Brandon. Like, I appreciate that at the very least, because this thing would be impossible to combat test otherwise. It'd be very boring to see fight. Where are the... Ah, here we are. These are all dreadful. Rough rule with APS shells, 50% of the shell should be gunpowder, unless you're doing something clever with a big shell. AC, like disruptor shells at this gauge, not good. Doesn't need an inertial fuse. Sabot should never be used. Well, again, Sabot doesn't need an inertial fuse, also needs more gunpowder. Smoke warhead we talked about before. Too little gunpowder, and 180 frag is best used with timed frags rather than inertial, because you want the frags going in the right direction. You've got a heat shell that doesn't have great penetration on it, so you really want about 20 penetration metric on these things. That'll go through many layers of metal and heavy armor. Then you've got solid warhead bodies and AP capped head. Not great because at this gauge, and it's slow, and not enough gunpowder, and not enough armor piercing, and then just a regular HE head, and you should never use like high explosive at any gauge below about 450. So they're all terrible and they all do terrible damage, so the main way this thing does damage is through missiles. Which means that anything with decent missile defense can beat it handily. So the reason the Varanus managed it is just because it has a decent countermeasures on it. Both for torpedoes and for radar-guided missiles. So the missiles just sail off into space uselessly. In fact, I will demonstrate that right now. This whole thing is not taking as long as I would have thought. Maybe I should look at the sub-vehicles. But they've got pretty much exactly the same problems as the main one, so never mind. So here's the Varanus, and this is, I hasten to mention, this is not me showing off. The Varanus is admittedly one of the better craft I've made, I feel. But, like, honestly, she doesn't do well, like, against craft which are a lot more expensive than it. She can beat the tier one-on-one, but that's because she specialized for that. Like, I designed her specifically to fight off big nasty ships like that. But, yeah, so this is... And just watch me get humiliated now. Because Straba changed the missile health the other day, and that's very controversial. That's the wrong folder. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. She takes a long time to load in. So, watch the missiles. Here. So, those APS are not going to hit anything. Okay, subs go down quite nicely, but yeah, see this? That's an issue. And that is one of the reasons why just mindless missile spam, not a good idea. This is just a wee little large decoy. And it has successfully pulled most, if not all, of the missiles. And the torpedoes have been pulled, of course, by this right here. No, where is it? This. Another little decoy. Sonar decoy. So, yeah, like, And currently the light cruiser is getting stomped on. Yeah, so this is not the best showing. Not the best showing at all. I believe... What exploded there? Yeah, there's a... no armor is not great. Although she's doing better right now than she did before. Should give the wooden deck a bit more credit. The Varanus is actually losing health a lot more than she did. But here's the problem, is once the ammo's gone, the missile barrage stops. Exposed deck guns, not going so well. The Varanus is still in fighting shape, and this is such a small craft in comparison. Oh, that's why things are going a little bit differently. This gunship is actually pulling its weight a little bit. Okay, so I've been banging on long time about like how newbie and, well, just bad this craft is. It's like, I don't actually dislike it. I actually do kind of like it, simply because it reminds me of like when I first started From the Depths and I had no idea what I was doing. So, there is that. And also, like, I could not ask for a better example of a ship a new player would make. I really could not, so that's great. Also, the Varanus is getting tickled way too much, and I don't like that. Okay, so what do I like about it? Well, I like the fact that it has changed over time. Like, am I anyone who can stick with the craft and who has the patience to build things as big as this? Like, not fond of oversized craft, but, like, I can appreciate the work that people put into them. A lot of work. And, what else? I like the fact it has helipads, even though it doesn't even have helicopters. That's cute. And it's also got a hologram logo, which I need to show off right now. And, like, I'm just gonna let this fight play on in the background simply because... I don't know, like, it's... The light cruiser's doing better now than it did before. I feel that's okay, yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it, actually. Like, let's go talk about these submarines for a second. Like... that's a very short review, actually. I guess if there's not a lot of positive things to talk about, the video is only half as long. But yeah, so don't, Brandon, and anyone else watching this video who is still new to the game, don't get discouraged. And there's actually, yeah, I just remembered now, like, I have some advice for you. And everyone else who likes to build big and is still new to the game, is learn to build small. Like, you get people who actually prefer to build small, myself included, because, for one thing, it's quicker. And for another thing, like, it's not like mistakes compound themselves all the time. So, like, if you make a mistake early on building a large craft, then that's kind of it. You're a little bit screwed. But yeah, so learn to build small, learn to build compact, learn to build efficiently, because it means it will make your larger craft a lot better. And trust me, I have learnt this the hard way. How is this gun still surviving? Oh yeah, it's a one of something like over 30. Okay, so what's the other thing? There's like, and also watch all the tutorials, like my tutorials, and like older ones, like from Ireland or Lathrix, or Latland, sorry. Lathrix is the guy, Latland is the channel. Like they will help a lot. Like even though a lot of them are like quite outdated now, they'll still give you an idea of what's a good idea and what isn't. And yeah. Veronis is not doing as well as she's supposed to. And that miffs me. But yeah, 1 million materials versus 200,000 and still losing. Not great. So in any case, yeah, thank you Brandon Smith for sending in this craft. It's I don't know, it is a great example, as I said, of like the new player build in From the Depths. So thank you very much for sending that in. Thank you very much indeed for being patient, because it's been a long time coming. Is that thing? Yeah, it's too damaged. Now it's just the submarines left. And the other thing, which is a million miles away. Okay, so yeah, thanks for being patient. It's been a long time coming. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you next time in From the Depths Subscriber Craft Review. Just forgot to plug my Patreon. So there, I just did that. Go support me on Patreon if you like. And I'll see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell!